Yeah.
And welcome in, guys, to the KC Sports Authority podcast. We are live over here on YouTube to give you some reactions to the very disappointing news today with Elmarko Jackson from last night's scrimmage. Of course, the injury. He is done for the year. Torn patellar injury, out for the year. Sucks. I don't
That
even
sucks.
man, we had high hopes that year two Elmarko would be great. But man, he's out for the year. Welcome into the pod. If you guys are joining us here live, we'll get going here in just a second. Feel free to post any comments below. Give us your thoughts on Elmarko, any shout outs to him you want to give him. Just real bummer that Elmarko's season ends before it really even gets going, because he had an opportunity to really play better.
He was going to break out.
We had an opportunity to see what Elmarko could do this year in year two, but unfortunately the injury hits. This took place at a camp scrimmage last night. The scrimmage, of course, ended immediately after he went down. We get the news this morning from coach that is a torn patellar injury, about a year recovery time. So he will have surgery here soon and then has to miss a whole year. I guess the good news for him, though, is hopefully that doesn't eat into any eligibility, because he could technically now redshirt or get a medical redshirt and still be a sophomore season next year. But yeah, feel for him. He was going to come in to be the backup point guard this year, the backup one, backup two guard, and have a chance to just kind of re-go again, like get started a second time. But yeah, that sucks, man. Any thoughts you guys have, reactions when you saw that come across today?
Man, it's heartbreaking, man. It's like he was going to be our he was going to be our our backup point guard, like you said. He was going to be the first guard off the bench, more than likely. Of course, we don't know exactly what the starting rotation is going to look like. I'm kind of leaning more toward KJ is going to come off the bench, and I know that's controversial. I know that it doesn't make sense given Bill Self's history, but that's another conversation. But yeah, he had a good possibility of being the first guard off the bench. If not first, definitely second. It's a huge blow to our depth. It's a huge blow to the squad as a whole, because I think everybody was looking forward to seeing what he can do in year two. And now it's like, man, I mean, you think about this kid, he was so good in certain spots. He had flashes of brilliance in his freshman year. And you're like, he has all the tools in his bag of just being that next guy to step up and being that classic freshman to sophomore year jump. And we're not going to get that. We could get freshman to junior year jump, assuming he sticks around, which I'm sure he would. You brought up medical redshirt. I mean, I absolutely think he should take it. You don't lose anything by not taking it. I think he would use all 4 years of eligibility if he never got hurt? I don't even know. I mean, maybe what if he had a breakout junior year and then went to the draft? But a medical redshirt would allow at least the possibility for him to stick around in total for a fifth year. And a talent like that, if he's around for that long, he could be a staple. And it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah, it sucks. What do you guys got? Spencer, Derek, anybody?
Yeah, I mean, the timing kind of sucks because, I mean, not only was he going to be the backup point guard, but after DeJuan leaves, you could see him potentially sliding in as a starter. And now he's not going to have that another year of experience. So it's almost going to be like he's starting fresh. And, if the expectation's going to be he's going to be a starting point guard for Bill Self, that's going to be tough coming off a year of an injury. So it's definitely, you definitely feel for him. It's damaging for this year, and it's damaging for him going forward. I'm sure he's going to rehab it just fine. And if he stays, he's in a system where he can grow. So it's not like all hope is lost, but it's a blow for him. It's a blow for the depth. I saw somebody say earlier that, and this was before we landed Shaquille, but it looks like they said, well, we're probably going to have depth issues again because we lost Kugel, we lost Jackson, we lost Pylon, and so on and so forth. It almost gave you flashbacks to last year when we were talking about we're going to have such big, so much depth and so much talent on the team. And then, one by one, something started to happen. So kind of scared me a little bit for last year, but, hopefully he can recover and still be a good player.
Yeah, I saw the post, and now I'm going blank. I know I liked it, so I want to give the right credit to them. It was.
Who was it? Was it Rock Chalk Blog?
It might have been.
I
I think
feel
it
like
was.
Rock
Yeah, I
Chalk
think it was
Blog.
right. Yeah, Rock Chalk Blog put out.
It was.
In the
I'm so
last.
good. Shout
in the
out Rock Chalk
last.
Blog.
Where we go? Let's go back to last year. So shout out Rock Chalk Blog over on Twitter. Bill Self heart scare forces him out of the postseason. Arterio Morse dismissed on rape charges. Potential first team All-American Kevin McCullough suffers season-ending injury. Riley Kugel can't get through admissions, and now Elmarko Jackson tears his patellar tendon. Brutal, and it has been brutal, and it's
Bill
been like
Self
that
can't have
last
good
couple
things.
years. Now that being said, it's still been an impressive offseason. We still have a great team. Part of me is trying to find the optimistic side for this, and that Elmarko now has a year where there's no pressure. He's sitting back. He can recover, get in the weight room, get stronger, get faster. Probably work on his jumper quite a bit since he won't be doing a lot of contact style practicing. But it's frustrating because you lose LeBaron Philon, who now would have immediately slid in until the addition of Shaquille Moore, which we'll get into, would have slid in as the backup point guard right away. Kind of the same situation we had last year with Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson leaves, and then come to find out he might have also had a chance to play this year. Philon's out. You had Kugel, who was that backup combo guard as well, and can't get him through admissions. And so you immediately go from, all right, we've got a log jam at the 1-2 spot potentially, and 4 or 5 guys that could play the 1 spot behind DeJuan, to now it's like, man, if DeJuan goes down, it's just Zeke. And Zeke can play point guard just fine, but there's nobody else that's the real point guard or true combo guard on the team outside of walk-ons. And, we knew Bill Self was going to immediately address the need going to the portal. He was already talking about landing another combo guard already, or a big wing. Maybe, though, this just forced his hand a little bit to go, point guard, combo guard than it does, another big athletic wing that they might have been looking at. But yeah, it sucks for Elmarko, but man, hopefully he can sit back this year, get healthy, get right, come in next year with open competition. DeJuan Harris will be gone. Noah Shelby will be here as a preferred walk-on with the intention of developing. But you would think, unless we land a Darius Acuff or someone like him, Elmarko will be in a great spot to take on the starting point guard role, or even the starting 2 spot. It just depends on what this team looks like in the offseason. But yeah, sucks for Elmarko. That is a bummer. I didn't think he was going to have a big season, but I thought this year he'd have a lot less pressure on him to perform. And I think we saw throughout the season his defensive ability really picked up. It's just that offensive game was just a real struggle. And, with this team we had filled with shooters and scorers, there wouldn't have been that much pressure on him to perform. But now he can just sit back, get comfortable, recover as best he can, watch a lot of tape, and get right for next year. And I would imagine, if all things go according to plan, he's going to come out with a vengeance next year, and he's going to be ready to prove it, because losing a year when you're a college athlete sucks. But
so really quick, can we talk about, the report said that he needed 12 months to recover, right? And so everyone hears that and it's like, okay, instantly he's going to miss the whole next season. But correct me if I'm wrong, there's still a chance that he could come back. I mean, he's an athlete, he's young, he's healthy. Yeah. Like, there's a chance he could come back.
I think if this was a professional player, they with a different type of recovery, maybe. But a college athlete who's still got a lot of his career ahead of him, I think this
probably
was
best.
It made it the way I took Bill Self's comments was, no, we're gonna shut him down. We are going in with the intention of Elmarko is not playing this year for the safety of his recovery. Now, sure, could he have the miraculous recovery that some of these guys are having? I don't know. Patellar knee injury is a lot different than some other injuries guys come back from, and I'm sure it's going to be a while till he gets some of that explosiveness back. And honestly, how many guys do you see get the knee injury and then they don't come back trusting that plant the knee to switch to make the cut? So it might be a while. So yeah, it's probably best that he takes a full year off, and once he's cleared, then he can start slowly ramping up into the rehab portion and get that right, because you don't want to see that knee cause, like, if he rushed back and he's good to go and then he gets in there and bonks knees. Like, I mean, not to pick on Jason Bean, but last year, what happened with Jason Bean? He had an injury and he came back and just kept running out of bounds early before going downfield because he didn't want to take another hit and get hurt again. I'm not picking on, just saying a lot of guys come back from injury and you don't necessarily trust that next hit you take isn't going to cause more damage than not. So yeah, take the year off. We recoup, refocus on what's the next edition, I guess, almost as quickly as the news broke that Elmarko was out. And then I'm sitting here, Derek's texting me, I'm texting JB and Spencer. I'm putting out a list of, hey, here's 5 or 6 names I really like. Then like barely 30 minutes to an hour later, the announcement comes out that KU has landed a commitment from transfer portal target Shaquille Moore, coming from Mississippi State. And before that, NC State, he will be a senior. Had his last year, his COVID year left. Not a guy that on the statistical level is going to jump off the page at you, but I don't think he's also a guy that's coming in to do any of that. He's going to be a real veteran presence guard, kind of a combo guard, point guard, shooting guard, a lefty, which I think is actually really cool. You don't get a lot of lefties, so I'm excited to see the lefty. He's a real bouncy athletic guard too for his size, only 6 foot, 6'1", barely, but he's got a lot of hop. And I was watching some highlight reels before we jumped on here, and he can get to the bucket pretty quick. He's got a decent dribble drive game, and I think he's going to be catching some lobs and could be fantastic in transition. But KU picks up a commitment from him. I've got some more on him, but do you guys have any thoughts on that addition as soon as you saw it announced later?
Hey, Derek, I'm actually curious. I don't know if you were on campus today, but
no. But obviously, it was devastating to hear Elmarko with his injury. But yeah, it's not worth it to rush him back. He's still very young.
Yeah.
You might as well just let him fully rehab, let him come back, and that's that. But Shaquille Moore, hey, like Keaton said, he's bouncy.
It's a decent pickup.
He's athletic. He's a great depth piece. And he can catch a lot. I think he's a good shot creator as well, with the limited highlights that I've seen. And as of right now, if DeJuan and Cage are on the floor for 30 minutes, that's 2 non-shot creators, right? So the other 3 guys, whoever they are on the floor, we need them to shot create at the end of the shot clock. I think Shaquille Moore can be one of those guys. And obviously Storr and Griffin and Mayo. So I think it's a great depth piece. As of right now, he's probably if Zeke's the 6th guy, he's number 7. He's the next guard off the bench. So I think he'll be fine. He's played in the SEC. He's got Power 5 experience. So
I just realized?
I like it.
I just noticed this. We just traded Riley Kugel for Shaquille Moore, essentially, because Riley Kugel signed with Mississippi State. But yeah, Shaquille Moore, I'll give you guys some statistics. 6'1" guard, senior. He's got career totals of 8.4 points per game, 1.4 steals a game, 2 assists a game, 2.7 rebounds on 42.4% shooting, about 31.2% from the 3-point line, about 71% from the free throw line. This last year at Mississippi State, however, just averaged just under 8 points, shot 46.8% from the floor, which was the best of his career so far. And he also shot 36.3% from 3 on about 2 attempts a game. So also the best of his career. But this is a guy, if those of you that don't know anything about him, he was one of the on the watch list for the Naismith Defensive Player of the Year last year. So you pair him up with a guy like DeJuan Harris, and so if DeJuan comes off the floor and Moore comes out, you're not losing anything at the point guard defensive spot there. I think Bill Self's going to be super excited about him. He was one I wasn't really familiar with up until the last couple of days. I didn't really know much on him, but I was going into 24/7 the other day looking at some other transfer portal targets, and they had a crystal ball prediction for him. And so I started looking into him more, and he really does fit the mold of what Bill Self's going to love out of a point guard and combo guard. I think he's got some similar characteristics to what Elmarko could have possibly been, that bouncy athletic wing guard, combo guard that can attack the paint, get a mid-range jumper, real bouncy. But Shaquille's got some great one-on-one defensive ability. I think he's going to be a guy that he was averaging about 25 minutes a game at Mississippi State. I don't think that's going to get quite as much here. Well, maybe we get a little into the rotations a little bit tonight. But he's going to be – I don't think there's going to be much drop-off between DeJuan coming off the floor and Shaquille going on. If anything, Shaquille might be a little bit more of an offensive threat than DeJuan, but defensively, you're not getting anything different.
I mean, he was putting up decent numbers. He had better numbers this past season than Elmarko did. Spencer, I'm interested to see what your take is on this. If you had the choice, I don't know if you have any bias, but if you had the choice of Elmarko not getting hurt and we don't get Shaquille Moore versus what we have now, where Elmarko's hurt and we have Shaquille Moore to back him up and be the immediate replacement, I mean, which one are you taking? I mean, is this ultimately, in other words, is this ultimately a good thing for our program? Because I can see an argument that it would be. I know we like Elmarko. I know we wanted, and I wanted it too. We wanted the sophomore year jump. But this guy, Shaquille Moore, is coming in with 4 years of experience. He's going to be a super senior. I mean, he knows his role. He's a decent shooter. You know, like, I mean, which side of the coin are you taking?
Is it a net positive?
That's a good question.
I mean, I like this. I can't really not choose the scenario where he doesn't get hurt. I mean,
okay, that's fair.
I'd like a combination of both. He doesn't get hurt and we still land Shaquille. That would be cool. And then, but I think it's, I think he's the perfect kind of player to land because of that experience. So now, I mean, he's got 2 super senior guards to learn from, 2 elite defensive senior guards to learn from, and that was, it was a knock against him last year. He had a tendency to get lost on some defensive possessions, but he's got physical tools to be a really good defender. And now he's got 2 really good guys to watch him mold this game over. So, obviously it sucks that, Marco got hurt. But I do think he's got a good opportunity now and a really good system to start thriving and learning. And really, if we were going to get somebody here, it would be the mold that Moore is, because, we do get a guy that can create a shot, that can spread the floor, and we don't lose any elite defense when DeJuan comes off the floor. I think this is going to be good for DeJuan and allow him not to play 45 minutes a game in a 40-minute basketball game. I think that's going to be a really good opportunity for him to have some more fresh legs so he, doesn't tire down, down the season.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think if you obviously take the injury out, would not wish that upon anybody. Take the injury out, and it's strictly a basketball move. I think if you could only play one, I think I would lean Shaquille Moore just because he's probably better suited for win now mode. And that's what we are. This is when we talked about this a few episodes back on with the way the transfer portal's gone now and the way Bill Self's loading up, that it's every year we got to win a national championship this year. It's not developing into a national championship. There might be room for 2 to 3 guys on the roster that are the fringe players, which this year it might be Flory Badunga, it might be Rakis Passmore, Jamari McDowell that are developing. But how many guys can make an impact today on winning? I'm not saying that Elmarko can't, but because Shaquille Moore is experienced and has played on winning programs, Chris Jans is a good head coach that he played with for a year there at Mississippi State, and he played in the SEC against top competition. So I think I would take, if I could give 20 minutes a night to one of the 2, I feel like I would give it to Shaquille Moore. I think the lefty aspect is interesting because it makes you defend differently. You don't see it that often, but that experience, there'd be no drop off at the point guard position. I think, DeJuan's a better facilitator and ball handler and true point guard. But I think Shaquille Moore can play alongside him. I do think this could look like what we thought we were going to get with DeJuan and Arterio Morris last year. Arterio, better scorer, more athletic guy, but the type of role he might have played, that defensive ball stopper, explosive athlete at the 2 guard, great in transition, find some open shots. I think we could see bits and pieces of that between those 2 and then throw Zeke Mayo in there in the backcourt. And you've got 2 guys now that I think can go find a bucket and are explosive athletes, whereas DeJuan's more the background facilitator, lockdown defender. So I think Spencer, you're spot on there. I think it takes a lot of pressure off DeJuan. Before the Shaquille Moore signing, my head was going back to DeJuan's playing 35 minutes a night, and
Yep.
Zeke's playing the other 5. And if we don't get a guy, then either Noah Shelby doesn't redshirt and gets a few minutes if need be, or they go AJ Storr as the backup ball handler like they did with Kevin McCullough this last year. With Shaquille Moore now, I think if DeJuan's struggling and something's just not fitting right, you could sit him for a 10-minute stretch and feel okay. This last year, you couldn't sit him for a 10-minute stretch, even if he wasn't providing anything offensively, because Elmarko couldn't get out of his own way and stop turning the ball over, and we didn't have that true other point guard. So I think this gives him some flexibility. It gives Bill Self a little bit of leverage with that backcourt, because now he's got 3 guys that can play the primary ball spot. 2 of them can play off ball next to DeJuan if they want to go with the more defensive lineup. Now you go DeJuan, Moore, Rylan Griffin, KJ Adams, and Hunter, and that's your probably 5 defensive group. Maybe Flory Badunga has an uptick, and I mean, just watching the scrimmages the last couple of days, I think he's fantastic. So maybe even Flory's the 5-man there in that defensive lineup mold. But I think it gives us some leverage. It gives us a guy that can be flexible and really stretch the floor in consideration to the issues we had last year. So I'm all for that. Would love to see still see Elmarko in the mix, because now you're talking about 2 athletic guys back there in addition to Zeke. So you've got your 1 and 2 spot perfectly nailed, and then Rylan Griffin and AJ Storr on the bigger wings with KJ and Rakeem Passmore. The question I have, though, is does this open up any potential minutes? So KU's back at 12 scholarships again, 11 healthy players, so 12 being Elmarko in this case. Obviously, we know they're not going to play 12 deep, so let's kind of run through the lineups here. But really, I want to get at is where does that leave Rakeem Passmore and Jamari McDowell as the guys on the outside looking in? So whoever wants to start, give me your 1 through 7, because again, I don't want to nail down starters yet, but give me your 1 through 7, and then let's talk about that 8 through 11 and who fits in there.
All right, 1 through 7. Obviously, we know DeJuan Harris and Hunter Dickinson are up there. We know I'm going with AJ Storr, Rylan Griffin as both being starters, and I gotta say Zeke Mayo, and I gotta say KJ off the bench. And it's not going to be those. It's not going to be those years where he would see a big drop off. I mean, he's going to play starter level minutes, but I think he's first off the bench. And really, I'm looking at number 7 as, gosh, I guess it's Shaquille Moore now. I mean, because I think primarily our backup 5 is going to be KJ, because I think we would go small in times that we might sit. I feel like we would go small before we would turn to Flory, because Flory's our next up at center. And behind him, I feel like is Zach Clemens. I know Zach Clemens has been in the system. I know Bill Self is saying he's most improved, but I got to put Zach Clemens at 8, 9, or even 10. It depends. I mean, we've seen him play so poorly. It's like, is he actually most improved? Is this just Bill Self gassing us up? So I don't really know. He is the hardest person to place. But if I was putting my faith in Bill Self, I might put Zach Clemens at like number 8. And I really think it's a battle between Passmore and Jamari McDowell for big backup minutes there. We certainly have an opening for a battle there, because Rakeem Passmore, we talked about him before. He's uber talented, and so is Jamari McDowell. Jamari McDowell has a year in the system. I mean, this guy is someone that we can at least trust for some just clutch minutes sparingly here and there to help us get through a grind. It's so tough, though. It really is.
And real quick before anybody else hops in, if you're watching, I know there's only a couple watching right now, but if you are watching, feel free to throw in the comments your starting 5 currently, or your first guy off the bench. I'd be curious to hear what other people think outside of ourselves. So if you're watching, feel free to throw that in the comments. We'll talk about it. But yeah, Spencer, Derek, give me your rotation that you have now, right, going forward.
Go ahead, Spencer.
Man, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to have a whole lot of changes here. I'm still of and not my opinion as to whether or not it should happen, but I'm still having a tough time believing KJ is going to go to the bench. I don't know. I've never seen.
It's tough.
I've never seen Bill waver on his ways, and I don't know.
And
Maybe
guys too.
this time.
But we know it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Yeah. I'm not
KJ's
sure.
his guy. I mean, that's
that's
And I love KJ. He's my favorite player on the
he's-
team.
Yeah. Not only is he an upperclassman, but he is like Self's prototypical.
He's Mr. Jayhawk.
He's
our heartbeat.
Jayhawk.
Yeah.
That's another why I don't know if it's going to happen. But
Heart and soul.
and believe me,
it won't.
and I don't know out of store. I mean, or anybody else. It's not really anybody I want to move to the bench, but I think I'll focus a little bit more on that first guy coming into that 7th spot, because I definitely think Moore has the experience factor because he's a super senior. But I don't know if you guys saw the stats from the scrimmage that Elmarko got hurt, but a lot of the main guys, the starter guys, they were on the team that lost, and Mr. Keith Passmore kind of balled out.
He was balling, leading scorer.
I would not be surprised. I would not be shocked if he played his way all the way up to the 6th spot. I would not. I think he's super, super talented. And I know Self can have a bit of a short leash with freshmen, but if he has a guy that's offensively talented but actually plays within the system that he lays out, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he shoots up that depth board. But yeah, again, now I'm not commenting on as to whether or not KJ should come off the bench. I just don't think he will. Personally, I don't think it will. But that leaves you're going to have a tough decision there, because you got 3 guys in Store, Griffin, and Zeke that, I mean, they could start on 99% of teams in the country. So, but yeah, that's what I think is going to slide in the 7th spot.
Derek, you gotta settle the score, man. Is KJ coming off the bench or is he starting? And there's no wrong answer, but what do you think?
Personally, KJ's coming off the bench.
Ooh.
Because again, if you have DeJuan, KJ, and Hunter, I'm sorry, those are 3 non-shot creators, personally. And so, like, I'd much rather have DeJuan, Zeke, Store, Griffin, Hunter.
I love
and then coming off the bench would be Shaquille Moore would be your 6. KJ is your backup big, along with, I mean, I know Zach's been in the system, but I mean, if Flory is as good as he is, I mean, he was what, number 10 recruit overall. If he's good as advertised, I mean, he should get the backup big minutes, frankly. Because, I mean, imagine a lineup of Zeke, Store, Griffin, KJ, and Flory. I mean, to me, that's pretty nasty.
That's what I want to see.
But again,
athleticism 1 through 5.
Exactly, but we don't know how the freshmen are going to adjust, right? And I'm kind of glad that they're not, as of right now, they don't have the pressure that Elmarko did coming in, because I think Elmarko coming in, people were expecting him to be the starting 2.
Top 15 recruit in the country, right. McDonald's All-American, right. Supposed one and done, supposed to be an NBA lottery pick, didn't live up to the hype.
Right, and so this year, Flory, highly rated guy, and Passmore, they don't have the pressure that Elmarko did. So I think with the veterans that Self brought in, personally, KJ's coming off the bench, but we all know that's not going to happen, because it's going to be DeJuan. It's going to be DeJuan, Store, Griffin, KJ, and Hunter.
Is your most talented starting 5, not including DeJuan Harris?
And Hunter.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not even, to me, it's not even a question. It's not even
let me say that. Let me pause you guys here. I think when you look at this roster, I think Bill Self has put together this roster for 2 different opportunities, I guess. We can play like we did last year, where AJ Store is essentially Kevin McCullough, and the only difference is you have a better starting 2 guard who's more fit in right away than what Furphy was in Ryland Griffin. So when KU was at its perfectly healthy last year, your best starting 5 was DeJuan, KJ, Hunter, Kevin, and Johnny Furphy. Johnny Furphy being the 2 guard. With this group now, Ryland Griffin and AJ Store are your 2 wings, because they are your prototypical 3-and-D, high-scoring, athletic wings. Store needs to play better defensively, of course, which is why I think KJ still starts, because Store is not going to live up to the defensive hype that Bill Self wants and expects early on. So I think we see a lot of that, because it is going to be Hunter's going to be the main go-to guy first. AJ's going to get his buckets. Rylan Griffin is going to get open threes, and then Zeke's going to come off the bench and be that Remy Martin spark plug role of initiating offense. That can be true. I think also, depending on how the season goes and depending on the teams we're playing, to me, it is very obvious that the most effective 5-man group we could possibly see on the floor does not include Hunter and DeJuan, or just one of the two. And when I say that, one of those lineups would be that's not even including Shaquille Moore. This is just, if you want to go pure offensive scoring threat and spread the ball out and just get buckets, KJ's at the 5, Store's at the 4, Griffin's at the 3, Zeke's at the 2, and now Shaquille Moore's at your 1, and DeJuan's on the bench and Hunter's on the bench. In my opinion, just run and gun athletic team. But if you also want your defensive team where, hey, we need to get 6-7 minutes here where we just grind and just frustrate the crap out of this team, then I think you're going to see DeJuan, Shaquille Moore, Rylan Griffin, KJ, and Hunter. I think the way this group is put together, Bill Self has the opportunity, if he breaks away from his traditional coaching methods of plays the same 6-7 guys nonstop and doesn't do anything. I think we have potential to see 2 completely different looking teams during different parts of the game. Because last year, I still think when Hunter came off the floor and KJ was at the 5, we were still pretty effective with KJ in that pick and roll mid-range dink and dump, because KJ is just super explosive, athletic. And I can see how that could still work in this group if he's playing the 5 spot with those shooters surrounding him. But we know KJ is going to get playing time. We know Hunter's going to be the focal point. We know DeJuan's not sitting on the bench. So all that, I think you can throw out the window and go back to, it's going to be Hunter. It's going to be Rylan Griffin, AJ Store, KJ, and Hunter starting. Zeke's the first guy off the bench. Probably, or they do a guard platoon of Zeke and Shaquille Moore come in. It's going to be tough to put this together. I think there's so many different ways Bill Self can go this year with lineups, but I do think we have enough versatility in the group to match up well with other teams. Like, what's been our struggle the last couple of years is going up against teams that are long, athletic guys. Hunter struggled against 7-footers last year, as most 7-footers do, but Hunter's just not athletic enough to work around a 7-footer as well. Every time we played Texas the last 3 or 4 years, they'd have a 6'11" center and a 6'9", 7.5-foot wingspan 4-man that could dunk over everybody and block everybody. Kentucky, same kind of team the last couple of years. Duke, last couple of years, they've had 2 centers playing on the 4 and the 5 spot at all times. I think this gives Bill Self the opportunity to match up better against other teams. Because what were you doing last year? You were still playing KJ or Kevin, and you're getting outmatched because you don't have the size. I think we have a lot to look forward to, because Flory's going to find ways to get into this lineup. He is athletic. I don't think he's going to have, the Joel Embiid type freshman season, but coming in, Flory Badunga's ranked higher than Joel Embiid was. And Embiid was not the athlete that I think Flory is. The acceleration, the quick jump. I mean, I know it was just a couple scrimmages, but the little bit of tape we saw, Flory is going to be a nightmare matchup for guys with that athleticism and strength, and he can power jump over you and slam it down. So he's going to find ways to get into the lineup. And again, like Spencer said, Rakees Passmore has the making of what Wayne Selden could be, what Wayne Selden was his junior year as a freshman. He's got the same build, the same frame. He's got a different opportunity. Wayne Selden in that group was 4th, 5th, 6th on the pecking order, but he was trying to be an offensive threat. Rakees Passmore doesn't have to do that. He can come and be a high-flying wing target that gets forgotten about because there's 4 other guys on the court that the defense is focusing on. He comes around a screen and just flies through the hoop and dunks for everybody. So I am really excited to see how these lineups are going to get put together, because at the end of the day, I have no freaking clue who's going to do what, other than DeJuan's playing 30+ minutes, Hunter's playing 30-ish minutes, AJ Store's playing 30 minutes, Griffin's playing 30 minutes. Outside of that, I couldn't tell you. KJ could start and play 20 minutes a game. KJ could start and play 30 minutes a game. KJ could come off the bench and still play 30 minutes a game. But I think the collective group, and that's not even including what Zach Clements might be able to do. That's why I feel really good about the roster as is, because we do really have good depth compared to previous seasons.
You don't think we need one more? Like, now, I'll preface this by saying, my good buddy Mitch, I love you, Mitch. If you're watching this, I love you. But he's like, I want one more. I want one more. And
there's no room.
Like, I was like, Mitch, there's no room. Like, well, okay. Technically there is room. We have the spot. We have the roster spot. We know that we want to give up a scholarship in the next in this year or next year. We could very well give it up this year. And we know Bill Self doesn't play 12, 13 guys. Like, I get it. But like, if we got one more, I mean,
but what's missing? What's missing from this team?
I don't know.
And if you do, again, I'll give you the credit. Like, I'm big on Arthur Kaluma. Derek and I were talking about this earlier today. I love Arthur Kaluma. I don't think there's a spot for him because KJ's already on the team and they're the same player. Just Kaluma's better. Kaluma's not coming off the bench and he's not starting over KJ. Yeah. So Kaluma I would love, but if you go get a guy like that caliber guy, I think the most guys that are left in the portal now, there's 3 or 4 guys left that are probably looking to start somewhere and have a big impact. And that's not, I mean, like Wooga Poplar today. KU's been on his list for the last couple of weeks. He chooses Villanova, where he's probably going to be a starter and be a focal point of that offense. So who are you going to go get that's going to be content not playing significant minutes with the guys we already have? So if you're going to go get another fringe guy, I would rather just see those fringe minutes go to Flory and Passmore and see what kind of potential they have.
I mean, but that's banking on the idea, and I'm not saying it's wrong, but it's banking on the idea that Passmore is going to be really good. I do believe he'll be really good, and I can't not bring him up enough. This injury, even with Shaquille Moore getting a roster spot, this injury to Elmarko Jackson makes room for Passmore to really step up. I mean, man, I know they're not exactly the same position, but they're pretty darn close. The minutes are going to be there. He's an explosive kid. I just can't wait to see what he does. I think if we did get anybody else, it would have to be someone that we develop for the year after when we lose all these pieces to graduation. But man, I mean, like, I don't know who we need because everyone has backup. And if you pick our top 8 or 9 guys and you weed out the 2 or 3 that showed promise but just didn't do enough to get significant minutes, I mean, we got a stacked team. We have a deep team, and come March, man, we're gonna have our options.
Well, I was thinking about this earlier too. I think I haven't done the research on this, but I think if you look at between DeJuan, Zeke, and Shaquille Moore now, I believe this is the most experienced backcourt of guards Bill Self's probably ever had. I cannot think of a time where we've had 3 senior guards that are point guard ball handlers that are all capable and worthy of starting at the same time. I cannot go back and think of one because even when you had Frank and Devontae was a junior, but you didn't have anybody behind them necessarily at the time. Russell Robinson, Mario Chalmers, and Sharon's probably the closest, different because Sharon was a freshman that year. But that's probably the closest, trio. Even like Tyshawn, I don't remember if they overlapped exactly, but Tyshawn, Elijah, and Nadir Tharp. Yep. A lot of experience, but I think this is the first time in Bill Self's time here at Kansas that he's got 3 reliable, dependable, experienced upperclassmen guards in his backcourt that he can trust. And I think that's, I mean, we talk about this every year going into March. Guard plays what wins you tournaments. You could have Hunter Dickinson going for 20 and 15 every night. Zach Edey going for 35 and 25 every night. But what wins you in March? Look at UConn. Guard play. Yeah. 5 guards they could rotate through that could stop the other team. And they still had Donovan clinging at the paint. So I think it's incredible. It's going to be a great group of guys. It sucks that Elmarko is not going to be a part of this group. But honestly, at the end of the day, it might help him jumpstart the 2025, 2026 even more for him, because now he'll have the opportunity to come in and take over, depending on what else we get through recruiting. But other thoughts you guys have? I want to finish up with some trivia like we did the other night.
Oh no,
with the four of us on here.
I haven't been studying.
It's all right. I'm not going to go. I looked at it today. I'm going to make it a little bit easier so that we get some good content out of this. But yeah, any other thoughts on the rotation? I think what we're saying here now is then we're feeling like Zach Clements and Jamari McDowell are probably 10-11.
Yeah, I probably
potentially. I do think Zach's going to be. I think Zach's going to be looked at more as a 4 this year than a true 5.
Even
I
though
don't
he's
think
better at being a 5.
Well, I think Bill Self thinks he's better at being a 4 because
But
he's not
wrong.
he's not the back down Punisher type, back to the basket 5 man. So I think he wants to see him as the 4. And Flory's again, we've got 4 guys there. KJ's probably the immediate backup 5. Flory's number 2. I think he's looking at Zach Clements as the backup 4. It goes KJ, AJ Storr, Zach Clements. So again, a lot of flexibility, a lot of versatility options there. I wouldn't be shocked if we see some lineups of Flory Badunga and KJ together, just to see. And I like that because it reminds me back of Tarek Black and Jamari Traylor when I called them the Bruise Brothers, because they were both guys that could not play outside of the paint, but we played them anyway because they were good together on the court. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, any other thoughts on this rotation or anything?
I mean, I just have two quick things. Shaquille Moore's stats. I think Keegan, you said him before. Which guard has very similar stats for KU in the past 5 years? Like 8 points, couple rebounds, 70% from the free throw line, 38% from 3, 48% from the field. Which point guard? Or which guard, I should say, had very similar numbers. To this guard, their stats, 8.6 points per game, 3 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 38% from 3, 75% from the free throw line, 46% from the field. So they're very similar.
Were they a starter?
No. Well, no. Yes and no. Just
we're starting trivia early. Here we go.
Oh no! Oh man!
Here's a preface to the trivia.
Malik Newman?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Devon Dotson?
He started earlier in the season and then moved to the bench.
Oh, Remy
Martin.
Yeah.
No chance. Oh my gosh.
That's a wild one because Remy's first 20 games were so unlike what anybody expected.
Statistically, just saying.
Yeah.
That's 2 completely different halves of a season that compiled those numbers. But yes, I do see what you're talking about.
Well, I mean, if you do go back and look at how Shaquille Moore plays, he plays with a little bit of spark because he knows he's a little undersized. So he does play with a little bit of spark and energy that Remy played with. But yeah, Remy's definitely the more dominant scorer. But, yeah, that's interesting.
Oh, shoot.
That's interesting.
But our little brother to the west, I mean, their front court is pretty
they got 2 good 7-footers now.
Agneso, Chor, and Gassan.
Yeah, those are 3 solid big guys.
Yeah.
So props to K-State. K-State's I told you guys this in the chat the other day. K-State's having a pretty decent offseason. And if for some reason they got Arthur Kaluma to return, I don't think he will because the Chor is basically Arthur Kaluma, the same kind of player. K-State's not having a bad offseason. I don't think that really propels them that much further up into the conference right now. But those are 2 pretty good big men. And then a Chor, we saw what he is capable of, not just against Kansas, but in the tournament leading up to that, he's a big time scorer. And I know we just lost Eric again there. That's okay. But yeah, no talking about K-State. We're done talking about K-State. That's it. So let's do some trivia to end things up here for those that are still watching, and we'll cut this out for some content later. I'm going to give you guys the option this time. We can go. I can give you the hey, here's the couple facts about this player, and just go the first one to give me the answer. You get one answer, like one guess only of the 3 of you, or we can go or we can go one by one. So all right, JB, here's your player question. Derek, here's your question. Spencer, here's yours. So I'll give you guys the choice. We can do a couple of I give you the stats and facts about a player, and the first of the three of you to give me the correct answer wins that round, or I can give you each individual one-on-one questions.
We need to do this. We need to do this in Wheel of Fortune style, where if you guess and you're wrong, it's like you can't guess again.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. So if you are the first one to give the guess and it is wrong, you are done answering that question, and then the other two get a shot at it. But
if no one gets it, you can guess again.
Then you can guess again, and then after, if you guys still don't get it, then I'll give you the answer of that. So we'll do that first. So first attempt at this on this episode is going to be all of you get the chance to answer it. First one to, there's no buzzing in, but the first one to give me the correct answer wins the point. So
buzz.
Yeah, let's see here.
Oh, no, I'm terrified.
Again, let me start with something a little easier for you guys, just to get the juices flowing here. Let's go to
it's the easy one.
All right. This Jayhawk was at Kansas for 4 total seasons. He is a 1,500 point scorer, so scored more than 1,500 points, and he was a part of a team that was in 2 Final Fours.
No way.
2 Final Fours.
Wait a minute.
At Kansas for 4 years, scored 1,500 plus points, which puts him top 20 in the all-time scoring list, and was on teams at KU that competed in 2 Final Fours.
Udoka Azubuike?
He was only in 1.
Aaron Miles.
That's right.
Aaron Miles is a good guess. That would be incorrect. So Spencer, you've got 1 guess.
No,
because both of those
played in 2 Final Four. Oh, I'm trying to.
He was on the roster for 2 Final Fours.
On the roster.
Is he a big?
I guessed the wrong person. I guessed the wrong.
Derek knows it.
Yeah, he probably does. Because I was going to say Ochai, but I can't remember if he was on 2018 or not. I don't think he was. Yeah.
Okay, so Derek, I'll give you the second guess.
Is it Keith Langford?
Another good guess. You're thinking right, but the answer is Wayne Simeon. Keith Langford would be an eligible guess, though, because he is also top 20 on the scoring list. Okay, let's do another round. Let's see here.
It's supposed to be easy.
Okay, this Jayhawk played 4 seasons, made it to 1 Final Four, also has the Kansas basketball record for most assists in a single season at 282. This shouldn't be too difficult because there's really only 3 guys that should be considered for this answer, in my opinion.
He made a Final Four, and he has the most assists.
In 1 season. He has the KU record for assists in 1 season.
Was it Chalmers?
Chalmers is incorrect. DeJuan is incorrect.
Was the Final Four in 93?
I can't tell you that. I already gave you your info.
How recent are we going here?
Is it Billy Thomas?
It is not. It is actually Devontae Graham.
I was dang it, man. I wanted to say Devontae so bad.
Devontae Graham in 2017, 2018, he had 282 assists, which was 4 more than Cedric Hunter in 1985 to 86.
Wow.
Most people would guess Aaron Miles because he's the all-time assist leader. But that would be incorrect. Okay, let's see.
It was the first name that popped in my head, and I should have said it.
Let's go to another one. All right, this Jayhawk did not start his career at Kansas. He transferred in. He played in a national championship game.
Jeff Whitney.
Yep. I didn't even get to finish the rest of it.
Let's go. All right, what was the rest?
It doesn't matter. I was going to go into his block statistics, but that's all right. All right.
Mitch and Allie.
Old school. Here's your first clue. This is an old school player. This player was an exceptional NBA talent. Played for one of the premier teams in the NBA history-wise.
Come on.
Played long time ago.
Shout it out.
Has a very notorious play. No, that's a good guess. Has a very, very famous play, depending on if you saw it in a movie or if
What?
you remember how it actually went down. This was a guard.
Oh man,
A guard who played in the NBA, one of KU's most talented guards
What,
of
Chalmers?
the old days.
Old days. Okay. Well,
Has an iconic moment
that's
in a
before my time,
certain
Keegan.
basketball movie
Before my
during
time.
the March Madness tournament run
We give up.
against Texas El Paso.
dude, I have no idea.
I'm old.
My-
JoJo White.
White.
Was the answer. JoJo White.
Come on, man.
I don't even know who that is.
All right, let's do the. He played for the Celtics.
Oh, so I mean, yeah, I immediately thought of Paul Pierce.
Whoa.
Okay, let's do.
That was a 66 season, right? Were you
Yeah.
tough one?
Yeah.
That's right. I remember the 66 season. That's right.
All right. This former Jayhawk played in the Roy Williams era. He was just recently let go as a college basketball head coach, which he has been for several seasons now.
Jock Vaughn.
He is also known for getting his shins dirty on the floorboards.
Jock Vaughn.
College basketball coach.
Oh, college. Oh, sorry. I thought you said NBA. Oh, crap.
One of his nicknames was Floor Burns.
Oh, I know.
What? Floorburns?
Most recently coached in the failing Pac-12.
Dude. Next.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I'm out.
Derek, you
Derek's
got
out.
anything?
He's out. He got nothing.
What's the school? What's the
Yeah, what's
Stanford.
school? Stanford?
Oh, Jared Hayes.
Jared Haas. Jared Haas is
Jared
the
Haas.
correct answer.
Yeah, Jared Hayes.
How
Jared
did
Haas.
you know that?
He was the leading
I
scorer.
told
of
you
the
guys
1994 team.
next time we do this, you guys are gonna have to throw questions at me because your guys' knowledge is struggling. Let's see. Let's do another. We'll go a little bit more recent. Make it easier. Let's see.
Give me questions about my favorite player. I might know it.
Let's.
Who knows my favorite Jayhawk of all time?
Jamari.
Jamari
Trailer. That's right. That's right. Shout out Jamari.
Okay, this player has been on the roster in the last 10 years.
Jamari Trailer.
He was a one-season player only.
Oh.
He was also deemed ineligible for March Madness.
Billy Preston.
Good guess. There's a couple that could be this one.
Oh, Cliff Alexander.
Not Diallo? No.
Check DL. Yeah, check DL.
Check
Oh,
Diallo.
okay. I was like, I thought I said it. All right, we got it.
All right, let's
Who's keeping
do.
score right now?
I've lost track already. Let's do one
I
more.
don't think anybody's winning.
It's totally.
Capacity.
Well, no,
Totally.
JB got
We're
one,
all
right?
here.
I got at least two. I might be tied with Derek. I don't know.
Okay. Ooh, okay, this will be a tough one. Get his page to pop. All right. This player was at Kansas for 3 seasons, came in as a transfer. The school he transferred from was in the SEC. He has career averages at Kansas of 2.4 points. 2.1 rebounds,
Oh,
0.4 blocks, 0.3 assists.
3 seasons.
three.
Kevin Young.
That with those averages.
Transferred from an SEC school.
Can we get like the time period? Like
This
2010.
is within the last 10 years.
2000s.
Yep, within the last 10 years.
Oh, 10 years. Okay. Ah, shoot.
For 3 seasons.
His freshman and sophomore seasons were far better at the school he was at than here.
Who is this guy?
Hold on, give me a sec.
Did he ever start?
He started a couple games.
That's helpful.
He started a total of 11 games, most of them his senior year.
It's not him.
Dude.
He gets mixed up with another Kansas Jayhawk because their names are similar.
What?
I've messed this up on a podcast myself.
Are you talking about Hunter? Hunter
Mickelson?
Mickelson?
Hunter
Oh,
Mickelson. Hunter Mickelson.
Oh, okay. Well, that last one gave it away.
Okay, we're gonna do one more.
He played 3 seasons for us.
One of them was a red shirt. So I said he was on the team for 3 seasons.
Oh,
Okay. All right. This former Jayhawk was the first highest rated recruit of the one and done era, averaged 13 points, 13.4 points, had a decent-ish career in the NBA before injuries derailed him.
Xavier Henry.
Xavier Henry. The first number 1 recruit of the Bill Self one and done era. Or the first, I guess, top recruit of sorts. He was up and down that year, but he was the highest rated one and done recruit at the time, because before that KU did not have any freshman one and done. You guys want to do any more?
There.
I feel like I need to ride my high. I feel like I did pretty good.
Okay, one more. Just one more. Just one
good.
more. We gotta end on another good one here. Let me pull up his career stats. All right. This former Jayhawk played 2 seasons at Kansas before transferring away. As a freshman, started 29 games, scoring 11.3 points per game. Wow. Shot 40.7% from the 3-point line, and was probably the best dunker on the roster.
No way.
The best dunker on the roster, and then he transferred away.
Dude, who? Is this in the last 10 years?
That's the only info you're getting.
Oh, come on.
Played 2 seasons at Kansas before transferring away, started 29 games as a freshman, averaged over 11 points that season, and shot almost 41% from the 3-point line, and was clearly the best dunker on the team.
I was going to say Quentin Grimes, but that's that.
Tyon Grant Foster?
No, Tyon didn't do anything his freshman year.
I don't know. I'm who does that?
He backed out of the NBA draft, though, and is going back to Grand Canyon. We're going to play overseas.
He did.
I wish we could take him back.
He should have come back to Kansas.
He didn't put his name in the transfer portal, unfortunately.
Yep. No, yeah, he's going back to Grand Canyon.
Yeah, you got to go back a little bit to this, but I'll give you a couple more. This player did play in the NBA. Let's see. One of the teams he played for was the Boston Celtics. I'm going blank on some of his other teams he played on.
Hang on. I can get this.
An iconic incident that happened with this player.
Oh, DeSosa.
No.
You're lying.
Oh, I was thinking chair.
No, he didn't do
Iconic
it.
incident. The chair.
That's all I think of when you think of iconic.
He didn't have those numbers as fresh. Nope. This was an off the court incident. He is not the first KU player to go through an incident similar to this. Paul Pierce also went through a similar experience.
Dude, you're killing me.
2 seasons and then transferred.
The only off the court issue I know of Paul Pierce was getting stabbed 17 times. Was that the incident you're
This
talking
player
about?
had an incident somewhat similar to that, not near to that level.
Okay.
Oh gosh.
You got to go back a little bit in KU.
A little bit here.
It's a year. Come on.
20 years.
Is it between 2000 and 2010?
You got to go back. You got to go back almost 20 years.
Then I'm out.
He was a McDonald's All-American and placed as a semifinalist in the McDonald's All-American High School Dunk Contest, but lost to a certain other GOAT, NBA GOAT, basketball GOAT.
Gooden?
Who?
Drew Gooden?
No, that's a
Well,
good
he didn't
guess.
transfer.
Very, very
He
good guess.
He didn't transfer out though.
You're in this. You're in the right era.
In the right era. Okay.
So that's Roy Williams. Best dunker?
I'm trying. I usually know all the.
He has to be a Roy. He has to be a Roy recruit then, right?
He was part of Bill Self's first team.
Yo, I wonder if anyone's watching this,
Wait, who
like
was the-
shouting at this.
Yeah. Hey, if you're watching and you know this answer, throw it in
Comment
the
it.
comment section because clearly these three don't.
Heck no.
Well, I mean, who was
The six of you watching right now.
I mean, the starting lineup that first year for Self was what? Simeon at the 5, Aaron Miles, right? Because he was still on that team.
This is one of my favorite KU basketball teams of all time
I don't know.
because I love their starting five. My favorite starting five. Well, second
Keith
favorite starting
Langford
five.
was still on that team, right?
Langford was on that team.
Yeah. It's got to be the starting 3 then.
Who was he? He was the starting 3 on that 03, 04, 04, 05 team.
Oh, was it that Darnell Thomas guy or whatever?
No,
No.
Bro.
he was a lottery pick.
It was a lottery pick. Holy.
I don't know. Mario. I don't know, bro. Keegan.
I'm sorry.
out.
He was not a lottery. He was a first round draft pick, not a lottery pick. That's
Okay.
my apologies. I goofed that one up. He got drafted by the Boston Celtics in 2006.
Who knows? 06.
He was
Oh, but he
notorious
transferred.
for wearing a headband. I mean, Aaron Miles is the most iconic headband wearer at Kansas, but he also wore a headband on this team.
Not right.
Nothing. You guys got nothing.
I have nothing.
J.R. Giddens.
Who the fuck?
Brother,
You don't
who
remember-
is that?
Oh,
Nobody-
he transferred to New Mexico.
New
right?
Mexico Lobos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plays
How
in
do
the
you
NBA.
know that?
That.
No,
How do you know
when
that?
He
when
was a
studied-
high-flying McDonald's
I
All-American
studied
recruit.
I studied for the trivia like hardcore, and like
Bro,
yeah,
Derek, you're
yeah,
cheating.
it is. I'm not
He-
cheating.
You are, man. You are
But I like
even
these
random
trivia stuff.
people that I don't
Yeah.
know. These are straight.
I'm recording this with my phone, and I don't have a laptop.
Well,
I'm not
whenever
looking
we
up
do our
answers.
official
Derek-
KU basketball trivia, you guys are going to fail miserably.
No, Derek
'Cause
over here is looking up the answers. I'm just saying.
You know,
I know Derek's not because I've done the trivia with him. I've seen him in trivia.
Uh-huh.
Well, okay, we'll wrap up there. Again, every KU basketball episode we do up until the season starts, we're gonna do some trivia,
Everyone.
have some fun doing it. We're gonna try and come up with some way to kind of get you guys more involved too that are watching and be a part of it. Probably not the same level of trivia that they were doing on Rock Chalk Sports Talk on the radio, but we'll do something kind of similar just because it's a lot of fun. And again, we'll have one of these nights where they have them test me on my knowledge. Because I know mine is deep, and I hope I don't disappoint. But that'll wrap it up on this one. Again, Elmarko Jackson's out for the year. Prayers up for him on a speedy recovery, strong recovery, good rehab, bounce back for a sophomore season next year. Also have the incoming recruit in Shaquille Moore. So it looks like Kansas's roster is set. We'll have word, I'm sure, from Bill Self in the next day or two about the addition of Shaquille Moore and how things might look coming up here. So that'll wrap it up here. Thank you for those that did come back and watch this. And if you come back and watch later, we appreciate it. Hit that like and subscribe button below so you can stay up to date with all of our future content. Chiefs, Royals, KU basketball, KU football. We'll have some NBA final stuff coming up here, some sports betting stuff. You can also hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at KCSA Pod. But that'll wrap it up for this one on our live edition of the podcast. And we will catch you guys in the next episode.
Watch out.